Hey, fourth grade. How's it going, everybody? You guys ready for your music special today? So I know last week was a little bit of a challenge. I gave you an assignment in Kami, and I know that is that's a new tool for some of you. So today I just want to go over that assignment with you and make sure that you understand how to do it. It's not going to be for a grade. I just want to make sure that you guys understand some of the note values because today I'm going to be introducing a new concept called time signature, and you need to know how many beats the different notes receive in order to understand our topic today about time signature. So our objective today is I can add up note values to determine the top number of a time signature, and I will explain that in depth a little bit more in just a second. So let's take a look at our Kami worksheet from last week. And this was where I was asking you to add up some rhythms. Okay, so in Kami, you guys, basically all Kami is, it's a way that I can send you a worksheet and you can write on it with either a little stylus, or you could just simply like use your finger and the touch screen. You can draw on a worksheet that's in digital format. So that's all that it is. It was just a practice sheet. If you had trouble with it, no big deal. But this is what it looked like if you were able to open it. Ooh, I just marked on it just then. Yeah, and it can be a little bit frustrating to deal with because I know like it's not always going to cooperate for you when you're trying to draw on the computer screen. But what you want to do is there's this kind of little like paintbrush looking thing right here. If you click on that, that's called the drawing tool. And then you just go down and choose your color. I think I'll choose red. Maybe that'll show up a little bit better for us. So I'm going to choose red, and then I'm just going to use a little stylus. Again, you can use your finger to just draw and answer blanks. So on this worksheet, we were looking at 4 different note values. We were looking at the whole note, which receives 4 beats. So when you're counting that one out loud, you're going to say ta, ah, 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 because that should be held out for 4 entire beats. If you were playing your recorder, you would be blowing into your recorder and a steady stream of air held out for 4 entire beats. So that's our whole note. There's no stem. It's a hollow note head. Then we were looking at the half note, which is a hollow note head with a stem. The half note gets 2 beats and it says ta, right? For 1, 2. We looked at the quarter note. That's our ta. That's a solid note head with a stem, and it only receives 1 beat. I don't know why I can't get this. Oh, there we go, to erase there. And then I know it's really tough to read that. It's kind of blurry here, but this is our 8th note. This is just 1/8 note. And 1/8 note has a flag at the top. Usually we see them in pairs, okay? And when there are 2 8th notes or a pair of 8th notes, instead of the curved flag on the side, we see a beam across the top. But when there's just 1, we don't need a beam because it's not attached to another 8th note. When there's just 1, we have that curved line called the flag, and 1/8 note only receives half a beat. So let's go over these. If you wrote your answer down on a piece of paper, you might want to grab that, like pause the video really quickly and go grab that piece of paper. If you didn't write them down, then just make sure that you're paying really close attention as I go over the answers. So the examples up here are for you. The first example is a whole note plus a half note. So the numbers that I would be adding in my head would be 4 plus 2. So So 4 plus 2, that's how we end up with the answer in the example of 6 beats. Then the next example here is a ta plus a ta-ah, a quarter note plus a half note. And the numbers that we would be adding in our head are 1 plus 2 equals 3. So let's go ahead and do the rest of these together. For letter A, I have a whole note plus a whole note, so that would be 4 plus 4. What's 4 plus 4? It is 8. I'm going to write a bit bigger just to make sure that you guys can see. Plus, it's hard to write small on this thing. Letter B is a half note plus a whole note, so that would be 2 plus 4. What's 2 plus 4? That is 6. Letter C, we have a quarter note plus a whole note. That would be 1 plus 4. What's 1 plus 4? That is 5. Letter D, we have a quarter note plus a quarter note. So that would be what plus what? That's just going to be 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Letter E, okay, be careful right here. I have a quarter note plus an eighth note. So the numbers that I'm going to be adding are 1 plus, the eighth note only gets half a beat. So it would be 1 plus 1/2. So this one's kind of strange. The answer is actually going to be 1 and 1/2. Yes, music can be divided into fractions. Okay, letter F, I have 1/2 plus 1/2. I always think about fractions, circles, when I'm adding 1/2 plus 1/2, and I know that that equals 1 whole. Letter G, I have 2 plus 1/2. So 2 plus 1/2 is going to be 2 1/2. Letter H, I have 1/2 plus 4. That's going to be 4 1/2. Letter I, now I have 3 note values that I have to add up. So I've got 2 whole notes and a half note. So I'm adding up 4 plus 4 plus 2. So 4 plus 4 is 8. And then plus 2 more is 10. Okay, letter J, I've got 3 note values again. I've got a quarter note, a half note, and another quarter note. So the numbers that I'm adding up are 1 plus 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 more. So I've got 3 plus 1, and that is 4. Okay, the very last one, I'm adding up 5 note values. Okay, I've got a whole note, half note, quarter note, and 2 eighth notes. Okay, remember 2 eighth notes together are going to be 1/2 plus 1/2, and that's 1 whole. So when I see 2 eighth notes together, I just automatically think of 1, because I know if I'm adding 2 of them together, that's going to be 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 whole. So I've got 4 plus 2, which is 6, plus 1 more is 7, then plus my 2 eighth notes, that's going to be 1 whole. So I've got 7 plus 1 whole. This is going to be 8. Okay. All right. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to email me. My email is bellt@franklinschools.org. You can also leave me comments in Google Classroom, and I try my best to respond to all of those. Okay, cool. So that information is really important because you need to be able to add up note values to determine the top number of a time signature. So a time signature is at the beginning of a piece of music, and it tells us how many beats are in every measure of music. So the music notes are divided by bar lines. Okay, that makes nice little sections of music. And each section or measure of music is going to have the same number of total beats. Okay, that time signature determines the total number of beats in every measure of music. So our job, we're going to do this Kami worksheet together, is to determine the top number of the time signature. There are always 2 numbers. Okay, the top number tells me how many beats per measure. The bottom number tells me which note gets the beat. And normally for elementary music, we have a 4 at the bottom of our time signature, and that just means the quarter note or the ta gets 1 beat. Okay, so we're going to do time signatures today where the bottom number is always going to be a 4, and we're going to try to add up note values to figure out what this top number is in our time signature. Okay, and whatever that top number is in the piece of music, that would tell us how many beats are in every single measure. We should be able to go through the whole entire piece of music and add up the note values inside each measure, and it would give me whatever number is at the top of the time signature for that piece of music. Okay, so let's look at the first one together. I've got a half note plus a quarter note plus we see a quarter rest here. So quarter rest gives me 1 beat. So let's add 2. We're just going to do a few of these together. Okay, let me get my drawing tool back out since I'm on a new page. Okay, so I've got 2 plus, how many beats does the quarter note get? 1. And then how many beats does our quarter rest get? 1. So add those up. What's 2 plus 1 plus 1? That's 4. So our time signature, if this were a real piece of music, our time signature at the beginning of the piece of music, it would have those 2 numbers there right next to the treble clef. It would say 4, 4. And then we should be able to count every single measure and we would have 4 beats. The top number tells us how many beats are in every measure. Okay. Let's do the one right underneath it. Okay. We're going to skip this one. So this one right here, I'm adding up 3 quarter notes. So how many beats does a quarter note get? 1 plus 1 plus 1. So what would my top number be for this time signature? 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So this piece of music would be in 3/4 time. So that 3/4 would be the time signature at the beginning of the piece of music, and every measure would add up to this many beats, 3 beats. Okay, let's go down here. This one's going to be another 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've already done a 4/4. Let's do this one down here. So not do that one, not do that one. Let's do this one down here where we have 2 quarter notes. So this would just be 1 plus 1. So what would the top number be for this time signature? 1 plus 1 is 2. Easiest addition problem in the world. So my time signature would be 2/4 time. Every measure would have this many beats. How many is that? 2. So remember, the top number in the time signature tells you how many beats per measure of music. The bottom number for now is usually going to be a 4. Okay, sometimes it's a 6, sometimes it's a 12. That's called compound meter, and we're not going to discuss that right now. Okay, if you guys are in band, when you go to Custer Baker, you will definitely be discussing compound time. Okay, let's do this one down here, right by the hearts. So I've got a half note. How many beats does a half note get? 2. Plus a quarter rest. How many beats does that get? 1. Plus another half note. That's 2. So what's 2 plus 1 plus 2 more? That's going to be 5. So this time signature is 5/4 time. How many beats per measure? That top number. So every measure in 5/4 time is going to have 5 beats in it. Okay. So that's how time signature works. That's a really important concept for you guys to know before you go into 5th grade. I also wanted to attach a couple other things to this video. So after you're finished watching my instructional video, I also want you to go back to that fun website called Classics for Kids. And there's a game on here that's called Compose Your Own Music. So let me go back and show you where it's at. So is down here, compose your own music.